Good morning. So, what I want to talk about is, as a dad, how you deal with your children fighting. And obviously, if you're a dad of one, there ain't going to be a problem. They've got no one to fight with, unless they fight with you or the missus or your partner, whatever. But as soon as you get two or more, those dynamics change, and there is a bit of a power struggle that takes place between the siblings, and it's healthy. I used to get moaned at all the time by my mum and dad about me and my sister and my brother fighting, and I never used to understand it, because you know your kids are going to fight. They're going to. They want the same toy. They don't want to play the same game. You know, this one's eaten this one's treat, and that was just for them, and now it's unfair, and they want two because someone's had one. And again, if you're not a parent, or you're not a parent of the number two or more, you're never going to understand that you're going to have to be a mediator. It is pretty much like being a politician between two rival factions, and you're just going to have to put your foot down at some point. Sometimes you're going to have to show sympathy to one more than the other. Sometimes you do have to do a little bit of cloak and dagger, where you go behind one of their backs and say, "Look, don't worry, I'll sort you out something else," so they don't feel that they're being cheated. It's a hard line to toe. The prime example, to be fair, this is on the extreme, but I let my kids fight out no matter what, however they want. They're building their bond between each other. They're building that type of camaraderie. You know, that bond that's not going to be broken easily just by them fighting with each other. That means that if someone actually wants to fight one of them, then the other two are automatically going to jump in. They've almost been predispositioned to automatically react to one of their siblings fighting. They're going to get involved. And it happened on the Bouncy Castle trampoline. It happened on the trampoline in the garden. We got a fairly big one. We bought it mainly for the boy because that's how he stimulates himself on the trampoline. So if he's got some energy to burn off, just go on son, out you go to trampoline. But obviously the girls now feel left out, so they want to get involved. Rico sometimes don't want to share his space, and that's what happened earlier. Bit of pushing, and normally it's Roma that gets pushed. She's the smaller one, but again that will just toughen her up. So not really bothered. You know, they're going to get some tears down the line, a little cry because someone's been pushed over, nothing major. But then it did start to get a bit rough. Someone got punched, then someone got kicked, and then someone's pulling someone else's hair. And now there's a little bit of a Royal Rumble going on in the trampoline. And I can see it, I'm right at the entrance. I'm not jumping in to break it up. I'm going to let them deal with it the way that they have to learn how to deal with it. You know, on the occasions that I'm not there, they're going to have to mediate between themselves. So, before you know it, Rome's been bashed, Rico's had his hair pulled, and Ruby's had her eye kicked by someone's toe. And then they're all crying, all in tears. Mummy, same old story. I'm right there. Obviously, I'm not letting them just bash each other up. I am trying to break it up, but I'm not getting actively involved in it. I'm just telling them, like, right, you calm it down, then the other one goes back in. The beauty of it is, 2 minutes later, they're all sitting there playing with each other, doing something else. The fight was completely forgotten about after all the tears and the crying and everything. So that's what I learned from my brother and sister, is that we would argue and fight over whatever it may be, and then literally 5 minutes later we're laughing about something that mum's done or dad's done, and we're friends again. And that's literally how any type of strong bond should be. That yeah, you can fight, but then you can laugh about it 30 seconds later, and then laugh about it later down the line. When they're older, they'll laugh about these type of stories. Do you remember when we used to have the Royal Rumbles and the trampoline, and Dad would stand there trying to break it up, but we'd just bash each other up? Like, this is stuff that this is when people say you can't buy everything with money. You can't get this with money. This type of thing, you don't just pay for your children to like each other. You don't just pay for them to get that bond, that unbreakable sibling partnership that's made in these moments. In those moments where they can actually actively have it out and then play with each other a couple of minutes later, that's something that's just enacted on from young. And as they grow up, they grow older, that's what they're going to do. They're going to fight and they're going to squabble, and then they're going to get back to business and enjoying life. That's just my way of parenting anyway. You may be on the other side where you don't want your kids to fight, you don't want them to hurt each other, and for whatever reason it upsets you. I don't know how you've been raised. I can't pass comment, and neither do our judge. I'm just letting you know what works for me, and it's working for them evidently, because they're going back home, they're all sleeping in the same bed. No one wants to be in a different bed because they don't like this person, they hate that one. Right, family, that's where it is. So yeah, how else do you think you're going to get a bond like that? It's through those arguments, and then realising they're nothing. Like, we carry on. We don't sit there and cry about it. We do what we've got to do for each other. So yeah, if you are a dad of, no, sometimes you have the children like that. That's just what my children are like. Sometimes you will get the children where they will just happily sit with each other and read books and play Monopoly and whatever else. They might even go on Roblox and actively like work with each other. If that's how your children are built, fantastic. Lean into that. But if you're not, and you've got some unruly kids like I have, let them get on with it. Nature will take its course. They'll all soon figure themselves out. They'll realise where each other is in the pecking order when it comes to strength. Just don't bother. Rico's going to beat you every day and twice on Sundays. It's not. When it comes to, in essence, smarts and brains, Ruby's probably got that. She's a very crafty one. She'll manipulate situations, so she's the best at that. When it comes to just overt aggression, that's Roma. Roma's the most aggressive out of them, and that's what she's going to be leaning into. And I love all my kids for it. And I won't change them. That's it. That's what makes them. What do you think made Roy Keane or Steven Gerrard or any of these type of footballers, Graham Souness, Gattuso? Like, they weren't particularly well skilled all round. They're not what you'd call the best that's ever played the game. and again, I'll relate it to football terms. If you know these players are, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't know who these players are, there you go. Go look at what these type of football players were like. They weren't good, but they were good at what they done. And these are all successful players, Champions League winners. So just because you're not Messi and Ronaldo doesn't mean that you can't be a winner. Doesn't mean that you can't excel at something just by doubling down on what you're good at. Which is something a lot of us as dads and men can actually take on board. Don't try to be the best at everything, because you'll never going to be the best at everything. That's the point. The more you try to improve yourself at something else, you're going to weaken in one area because you're not really homing on your strengths, what you know you're good at. What you're not good at, let someone else who is good at that do that for you and pay them. And it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of headache. So let them fight, let the kids fight, let them find their self out. Let them, and then teach them, double down on those strengths. They're natural, you know, they've been gifted to you by God. Work with it. That doesn't mean that you don't improve yourself in all areas, of course you do. But, really and truly, in order to be successful, and that's again, I'm going back to my kids being successful, and they're going to be successful in what they do, is because they're going to be good in all areas, but in their strengths, they're going to double down on them. So it elevates them above anyone else in that arena. Within that vicinity, they're just going to be the best at that, and no one's going to be better than them at that. You might be better at other things, but at that specific thing, you're not going to be better than them. It's a little weird how I feel, like my mind works like that. I work out that just by letting the kids fight and hurt each other is probably going to advance their development going forward in life, because it lets them know who they are earlier. And then as they get older, I'm just going to give them my own advice on what works for me about doubling down on what makes you you. There can only be one you. And if you disagree with that, then listen, obviously then what you're doing works for you. Very well done. Right, I'm pleased for you, because it worked for you. I can only tell you what's working for me. So let your kids fight. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here, as it's about 4:30 in the morning, another late one, but carry on. Till next time.